Hello and welcome back to this series on Latin NLP with Python. Now, in the last video, we looked at data preparation, and in the video before that, we looked at data standardization so that we can start to process our texts through CLTK and natural language processing methods. And we created a series of functions, one for removing J's and I's, or converting J's to I's and V's to U's, so that we've got a standard text, and one for cleaning up all of the weird characters that exists in our particular data. Now, in this video, we're going to start working with that data and actually performing some CLTK-based methods for performing NLP, or natural language processing. In this video, we're going to look at specifically declining, or how to decline or conjugate words in Latin, so break them down using the built-in functions of CLTK. So the first thing we need to do is we need to import that method or those functions from CLTK. So we're going to say from cltk.stem.latin.declension import, and this is important, collatinus decliner. Now the collatinus decliner, we're going to meet in a later video. I think I have it slated for episode 15 or 16. Collatinus is a separate Latin analysis tool that exists online. And what CLTK does is they use the algorithm that Collatinus uses to actually analyze, decline, and conjugate words rather than having a giant dictionary stored, which is what Whitaker's Words does, which is what we're going to meet in a later video as well, I believe around 17 or 18. So what we need to do now is make a function so that we can kind of go through and decline or conjugate really any word that we want to. And what we're going to see in a later video when we start to do word tokenization is we can do this across our entire text so that we can very easily create a word list and analyze the parts of speech of every single word. So let's go ahead and do this right now. We're going to simply create a basic function. We're going to call it dec, so decline. It's going to take a single argument, and it's going to be a list. We want it to be a list of words. And so right now, we're not going to add a check statement to see if the inputted variable is a list. We're just going to assume that our user knows that it's supposed to be a list. So let's go ahead and say decliner. This is the documentation way to do it, the Pythonic way to do it. We're going to say collatinus decliner. That's going to take no arguments. And what we're going to then do is call that decliner. But first, we need to make a list of declined words, or a dictionary of declined words. And what we're going to have here is a series of keys and values. The key is going to be the word that exists in that list, and we'll see that in just a second. And the value is going to be the result, the declined word. So we're going to say word, and then it's going to be equal to declined result, kind of like that. That's a little bit of pseudocode for you. Let's go ahead and write the process for doing that. So we're going to iterate across our list of words. We're going to say for word and words. And what we want to do is we want to say dec word, and this is going to be key here. We're going to make that equal to decliner.decline. So we're going to call the decliner object and run the decline method on it. And we're going to say we want to run that word through that method. And so our result is going to be a declined word. So let's go ahead and test this just to make sure that it works. Always good to test as you go. I'm going to delete that or comment that out. And I'm going to say, we're going to say words are going to be equal to, let's make a list so we have something to run across this. Let's say via and puer. And let's change it up a little bit. We're going to make viam a accusative here, and we're going to leave puer as nominative. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to simply say dec words. And let's see if that works. And you notice that we get a lemmatization error. Viam is unknown. And the reason for that is because the decliner is expecting a nominative. So in order to actually decline a word, you need to know its root. This is very important. If I were to do something similar with pueri, we'll see we'll get a lemmatization error once again. Pueri is unknown. Again, it is expecting the root, so the singular nominative. So if we were to do vi, again, we're going to notice we have an error. So whenever you're trying to decline a word, always make sure that you know its proper root and use that. Now, why would it do this? Well, there's a very simple reason. Because Latin is so inflected and because multiple words can have multiple forms, if you start adding in all these various forms to the decliner for it to accept, it's going to run into trouble identifying which word you're speaking about, depending upon part of speech. So remember when you're working with the decliner to always pass in the root. And if you do that, you're going to have a good day. But that's not all our function needs to do. We don't want to just simply print something off. We want it to log it. So what we're going to say is we're going to say dec words, and we're going to create a key here of the word. And we're going to make that equal to, you guessed it, we're going to make that equal to the dec word. So we're going to make it equal to that object there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to return our dictionary here. And let's go ahead and test this out. New words, let's just say that. And let's print off new words. And I'll explain this all in just a second. We run that and we get it. So what's happening here? Well, what's happening is we are going through and we are creating this object decliner from the collatanus decliner. We are then creating an empty dictionary in line 29 here that is going to allow us to have keys and values, and we're iterating across our passed in words list so that we can go through and decline each word in that list and then store it in our dictionary with the word being the key and the declined word result being the value. And then we're simply returning that. And if you notice, what we have down here is, in fact, a dictionary. So we've got via as a key, and then we have a list. And this list is going to be a series of tuples. And these tuples have two indexes. Index 0, remember we start off at the 0 index, is the word, and then the result down here, and the index 1, so the second position, is telling you what it is. So singular nominative, singular vocative, singular accusative, etc., on down the list with genitive, dative, etc. And you can kind of see exactly what is happening. You get to the plurals, you got your plural genitive, etc., plural dative, and everything is looking really good. And then the second key is puer, with its value being a fully declined word there as well. So this is how you create a simple function to iterate across a series of words. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. How do I do this with an entire text? I want to be able to decline every word in my text. Well, I have good news for you. It's very easy. We're going to see that, though, in video 11. Because in order to do that, you have to be able to break an entire text down by individual words. And I know what you're probably thinking also. Well, can't I just do simply a split function and split everything at a space? Well, yes, you could. But what's going to happen if you run into a period? What's going to happen if you run into a word that is not in its root form? Well, you're going to have a series of problems then. And another question you might be asking yourself is, what about verbs? So we've seen how to decline things. I'm not going to create a new function for conjugate because we can do the same thing with the decliner. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a different word because in coding terms, it's really doing the same thing. It's taking a root form of a word and breaking it down into its parts of speech, or various possible parts of speech. So let's do this with cogito. So for this, there's really kind of two ways Latin verbs are represented, right? You either use the infinitive or you use the first person singular present. In this case, we need to use the first person singular present, cogito, not cogitare. And so what we have here is we have, again, a key of cogito, and we have all of its various parts of speech. And you see that the collatinus decliner has already identified that it's a verb, and it's returned tuples that are all the possible forms, so cogito, verb 1, etc. on down the list. You can kind of see all this stuff here and very easily identify what parts of speech it's looking at, so singular, present, etc. Active, cogitabas, cogitabat, all the way on down. So you see you have a fully declined verb. No need for that 501 Latin words anymore, because good news, you can do all of this in Python now using CLTK. So that's how we go through and decline and conjugate words in Python using CLTK. And like I said, in a later video, when we go through and we start doing word tokenization and we start identifying the roots of words using the lemmatizer, then we're going to be able to start actually running this code against an entire text. But we're not there yet. We still need a few videos to make that happen. That's going to be it for this video, though. Thank you for listening. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe down below. Have a great day.